I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to order. I'm Tyler Riley, cop and a half.
I'm Melissa Meli, the spy.
I'm Tristan Miller, the saucy sleuth.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/ADCpod and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. It's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/ADCpod.
Can I tell you my favorite part? So we're doing sign language over here.
Yeah,
which is great for a podcast. My favorite thing about the Audible ad is I now don't need to look at it. I've done it enough. I'm like, okay, I think I got this
You
one.
got it from memory.
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. What are we listening to? What are we reading?
Yeah, he wanted
I actually just want to take a moment. I woke up this morning to the news of the unfortunate passing of novelist Mary Higgins Clark, known as the Queen of Suspense. So I recommend using Audible to maybe download a book of hers this week.
Excellent idea. I want to dip into that too. Yeah, she's got a lot of content, doesn't she? She wrote quite a bit.
She passed away at the age of 92.
Nice.
Wow.
Sorry, I just said nice.
No, but like maybe
that's a long life.
It's a very long, rich life.
Yeah. Sad to see her
has
go.
gone down. Yeah, as the Queen of Suspense for her novels.
Queen of Suspense is the best name for a boat, I think.
The SS Queen of Suspense?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
It stays suspended on the top of the water.
You ever think about boats?
No thinking. Yeah. I do sometimes think about boats.
You ever wanted to buy a boat?
Yes.
My boyfriend really wants to buy a boat.
Can we all pitch in and buy a boat?
What kind? We have to decide on the design.
Okay, what kind? We're not gonna make the boat.
No, I know.
I'm not Noah.
All right, nobody's suggesting that, but there are different styles of boats out there. Like, do we want a sailboat, a rowboat, a yacht?
You want a skimmer? You want a cargo freighter?
Yeah,
a sailboat.
I like sailboats. They're my personal favorite. What about you?
I don't feel like learning all that. To be quite
Can I tell you?
I would rather just have a steering wheel and like a throttle.
All right.
Call me old fashioned.
So this is what is it? The Plymouth
Express.
Yes,
now,
which I did not know that was the name of the episode until I looked it up on the internet.
May I say something? I was perusing the Wikipedia, and this was based off of a short story, yet again, from the early cases of Poirot.
Oh.
And then Agatha was like, I think I can do this one better. And then it's the Blue Train mystery, the mystery of the Blue Train. It's pretty much the exact same plot, which I was like, this plot sounds so familiar as I'm watching it. And it's based off of a short story. We haven't read it. Why do I know this? And it's because it's from basically the
Blue Train. Okay.
Yeah,
so the Blue Train did not have to be that long.
No, it didn't.
Because there wasn't much to it.
No.
It's a short story, really.
Yeah, it's a short story. And I was teased out.
No, bad.
It was
Agatha, no.
Money, Melissa! Money!
Well, money, and sometimes, you just...
got nothing.
It's like when Alicia Keys believes that she's a soprano. You try, you go for it, and you don't always succeed, And we shouldn't fault her for trying.
Yeah.
Okay.
You try your best, but you don't succeed.
Yeah.
So
sorry for the dunk on Alicia Keys. I love her, but you're not a soprano, girl.
No, and that's fine. No. You can just be secure in who you are.
Yeah.
Try,
Great voice.
Yeah.
Great talent.
All right.
So this episode
of this television show, Agatha Christie's Poirot, Season 3, Episode 4.
Nice. What? I thought it was nice.
Thank you.
Good job talking, Melissa.
Oh my gosh, yay.
I've noticed lately I've interrupted you a lot and it kind of dunked on you, so I'm trying to pay it forward and be more positive. You see.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
So
I still interrupted you though.
Yeah.
Is it heckling if it's a compliment? Please continue.
Is it? Oh, goodness. Yeah, so we are getting on a train. No, we're not yet. But we're getting into this episode. And does it start with the husband visiting the manor?
Yes, it
Great.
does.
So a man comes into a house and wants to see his wife. And there was a very weird cat sound that just happened.
They fight a lot. We got a bunch of house cats and a bunch of strays, and they like da 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 da.
Oh boy.
You know.
So yeah, she doesn't really want to see him, but actually he runs into her dad, and her dad's like, "You can take your business elsewhere, sir." And she says, "No, Dad. Let me spend a few minutes alone with him." And she says, "Okay. I just had to find out that I'd gotten you out of my system, and I have. So, goodbye. We're done." And he says, But I am in a spot of trouble. She says, "Listen, you've gotten enough of my money. Figure it out." And he says, "I don't think you want to do that." Something like that. Something that sounds really threatening.
Yeah. But like in almost like a yuppie kind of threatening.
Yeah.
He's such a sad boy.
Can I tell you what I do love that the series has made abundantly clear is the broke boyfriend problem has always been an issue where boyfriends will owe, as someone who owes people money, like that issue has always been a thing, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Like, I think that's amusing to me, but also terrible.
I also wonder if it's just Agatha like dunking on exes or suitors.
Y'all
broke asses. I need to like move it along. I'm not here for you.
And Agatha's making all the paper with her books, and
literally,
yeah, all of it,
because books are made of paper.
And
so is the
money.
primary scone winner.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's in England. I do love how they say scone.
Scone.
Yeah, scone. It's very fun. I would like to talk briefly about her father.
Yes.
Very good character. Loved it. The first English actor we've gotten that can actually do an Australian accent. It was quite good. I was very impressed.
What? Surely we have.
No. I've notated every time there's been an Australian accent, and it's always been terrible.
Tristan has a checklist.
Yes, I do. But speaking of accents, we'll get to this next character too, because there's a shady businessman.
Oh boy!
That's the next scene where he goes into like a bank or something, and he has like 1,000 ducats or something in a suitcase, and he speaks, and he's clearly supposed to be French, but oh no. It's like even Werner Herzog is like, that accent doesn't make any sense.
It's very bizarre.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Well, I don't know the province where he's from, so it could very well be a regional thing. I don't know. I don't know all the French accents.
We are not experts at French accents. Disclaimer. That we put on every podcast.
I can do exactly one, and it is Parisian. That is the only French accent I can do.
I used to be able to.
I
don't know where it is.
a really good American trying to learn French.
Yeah.
But
anyway, he goes to this bank. He's very suspicious, and that's all we get from him.
Great. And then do we see... I mean, we do check in with Poirot and Hastings at some point. What are they up to before all this? Or do we not see them?
We haven't seen them
We
yet.
don't see them yet.
No.
Okay, weird. It feels like we're missing something.
Isn't the next...
I felt that way too while watching the episode.
Sure.
The next scene is the lady with her maid, right?
She's sitting...
She's packing.
Uh-huh. Oh, no. She's sitting in a mirror.
Yeah.
She's at a vanity, and she is surrounded by roses.
Yeah.
She has so many flowers. It looks like
her maid
she's
comes in
doing a play.
Yeah. And she's like brushing her hair, doing her makeup, but it feels very fantastic.
Oh my God,
it's very fun.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. And then...
And there's more flowers.
Yeah. And there's a note, and it's like, can you read it to me? And the maid's like, fine. I hate reading. Don't you know I'm almost illiterate? But there's from the note, this person says, "I'm desolated that I don't see you. Please let me see you."
And she's big smiles. She's like, yeah, okay. He misses me. All right, I like it. Just like that. As she like powders her face with the biggest powder brush, you know.
Then it's the date between these two people that meet up, right?
I think then
Yes.
we get to. Do we see Poirot and?
I feel like Poirot is after the date.
Well, okay.
No, because Poirot is at the date. So we see them at the office of Poirot, and they're discussing a news. Like Hastings and Poirot are like talking about in some news article or something.
Yeah, Hastings is interested in like the guy who interested in, not that way. Businessly interested in a guy who runs a mine or something.
He's mad horny for a mine.
Yeah.
As we all are. We've all been Gimli, and we've all been like, I'm mad horny for this mine. I want to go in. I want to arrive inside this mine. So Tyler is fully disassociating. But yeah, and that comes back later because the man that owns the mine then shows up unannounced, and he's the Australian man from before.
Yes.
He said, "This is mine."
Oh,
And I'm back.
I dig
Yes.
it.
And Poirot says,
A rich vein that you have found.
Hastings, you absolutely cannot ask him about his business and investing in it. Please don't.
Please
stop it.
Don't.
And he doesn't, to his credit.
Mm-hmm. In this episode, it made me realize exactly how tall Hugh Fraser is.
Very.
Yeah.
He's a very tall man. And so is the Australian gentleman, Halliday.
Okay.
Mr. Halliday. And he comes in and goes, you gotta get rid of this man. And Poirot's like, I don't get rid of people. What do you think? What do you think I'm the mob?
Yeah, and he's basically saying, could you please check up on this guy that's interested in my daughter, because I'm not a fan.
And he does, there's a lot of weird undertones, because he's a Frenchman, and I don't like that. He's European. And Poirot's like staring at him, is like, do you know that I too also am from the continent?
Yeah. So Poirot, he pleads with Poirot and says, you clearly are not a father. You gotta understand. Yeah, right. He actually does it in a really sensitive and understandable way. Like, listen, I'm a single father. I don't have a wife to, check in with. Like, is this guy okay? I don't have anybody else to bounce my suspicions off of. Could you please just make sure he's not awful? And then Poirot's like, all right, I guess that's fair. So, yeah.
Then we go to the date.
And they're in a very big restaurant. Huge, tall ceilings.
I would love to take a moment to talk about the cinematography of this episode. A lot of it is very good. There's a lot of dolly shots, and there's a crane shot later. And I'm like, oh, so by season 3 they had a budget. Someone gave them money. They're like, okay, this is going to stick.
Well, no. They've always had a budget. They just haven't traveled.
They
haven't traveled this season.
That's it. But they're just doing like dolly shots. There's a lot of choreography in this one. This episode feels like it was clearly directed by one person that also did not direct any of the other episodes prior to this, because it sticks out like a sore thumb with the visuals. I like it a lot. It's very weird though, and that's why I like it.
Yes. So we're just in this enormous restaurant.
Huge.
And the Frenchman is sitting with Florence, which is the name of the woman. And
Flossie for short, which I think is very silly.
It's silly, but it's kind of cute. But so he's saying to her, "Come meet me somewhere." Or what's
Run
going
away
on?
with me. I'm going to have so much money.
Yeah.
Because I've done a very clever business deal.
Yeah.
And honestly, who wouldn't?
Yeah. Well,
I would have gone with him.
He looked like a walking skeleton, though. He's very
All
thin.
the more reason to...
Again, you love a gangly boy.
Well, no, just like he's skin and bones and like could possibly be near death, and he is coming into all this money. That's a slam dunk to me.
I think we all want to marry a rich person that is about to die. That's the ideal.
That's the American dream.
You get 3 years of uncomfortable loving, and then you get all the money in the world, just like that Christopher Plummer movie, and then you get to marry someone you actually like.
Yeah.
That's the dream.
And you're financially stable.
Yep. In this economy? So, and she's like, no, I couldn't possibly run away with you, but I am going to go because I'm going away for the weekend. And you can see me off at Paddington, though. And he's like, fine. But I'm still upset that I'm not going to be able to see you for 3 days.
And there is absolutely no chemistry between the two actors.
It's like it's like two dead fish on a table.
It's really not compelling at all. Not excited about it.
And then it racks focus to Poirot and Hastings like a couple of tables away. And Poirot says, what do you think about this guy? He goes, it looks like a typical frog. Frenchman. And he's like very uncomfortable. And Poirot is like, you people... with your preconceived notions.
Yeah. So, then we get the packing scene, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we see, like, so much jewelry. Yeah.
So many gemstones, and she's wearing one, and her dad's like, you don't need to bring that, do you? And she's like, I do, and she puts it in the suitcase.
And we have the maid there who's just like, as she's struggling to make a decision, it's just like, let's just take them all. Does that sound like a good idea?
But she's very fed up with it. She's like, why don't you just freaking take them all? These freaking diamonds!
Yeah. It's absurd.
That should have been the title of that
These
stupid Adam Sandler film.
These freaking diamonds.
I did the 2 minutes.
I did not see that movie.
I did.
What? Oh, yeah.
Uncut
Oh,
Gems.
it's so good. It's so chaotic. I loved it, but I never need to see it again.
Oh, I thought it was one of the biggest wastes of my time.
Oh, I liked it a lot.
So I am hearing those two perspectives on this movie and nothing else.
It's going to come to Netflix soon in the U.S., so at your leisure.
I guess. I mean, I have so many things I want to watch before that, including all of Star Trek The Next Generation.
I'll say, you said you're watching Star Trek Next Gen?
I will just watch the pilot.
Oh, it's a pilot. You can tell.
Well, that's his job, right?
No, actually. There's only a couple pilots.
He's a captain.
Yeah, but he's not a pilot.
I know.
He's a captain. It's like
it's
like a boat. It's a starship, not a star plane. All right. So she's packing all this jewelry.
Yeah.
Just huge pieces of jewelry.
Yeah.
God, there's so much episode left.
I know. So she's going on the train. She gets to the train. The Frenchman doesn't see her off. She's on the train. She gets to...
So, she gets to the train station. She gets to the train station, and the... Mrs. Mason, that's the maid.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mason's like, oh, well, I mean, you're here by yourself. My ticket's, in another car. Like, are you sure you're going to be okay by yourself? And she's like, go find your seat.
I know, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Do not care.
Yeah.
Go away.
It's so funny. I kind of love this woman, Mrs. Florence. She's just, like, so curmudgeon. Such a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I love a woman with a bad attitude.
Oh.
I truly do. So she's on the train. Then we see her. Is it Bristol? Or is it Brighton?
They're supposed to get
to Bristol.
No, but you're right. They're supposed to switch. At Bristol.
Yeah,
you're
and we see the maid at the Bristol station, and they're like, "Oh no, Flossie! Oh no!" And then later on, it's a terrible scene. In the same train, someone's trying to pack luggage. And he's trying to put a luggage underneath the seat, and he's like, "Oh, it won't fit," and he keeps like pushing it, and I'm like, "I know what's under there. It's terrible." And then he just looks under, and it's her corpse.
Yeah, Florence's corpse.
Yeah, just like keeps having? And, like, does the coroner, like, do they take that into account? It's like, well, there's a lot of strange bruising. She's been stabbed, but also...
And the weird thing is, like, he didn't even react to finding the body. He just keeps trying to put the luggage somewhere else.
I'm on the clock, man.
Oh no, another dead body. Find these all the time.
On trains, yes, they do.
So many dead bodies on trains.
Never take a train.
That's the lesson.
Don't take a train. I'm only taking a train.
If I could afford Amtrak, I've done it a couple of times. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
I love a train ride.
But you have to like budget in $60 for the food, or pack a very good lunch.
Where's our GoFundMe to the three of us to go on the Orient Express?
I know, right?
Where's that?
Where is that? No, like
we're talking to you, listeners.
Yeah, no, but like also it's in Europe, so we'd have to fly to Europe.
Yeah. Guys, listen.
That's why we need a GoFundMe because we can't fund ourselves, Tristan.
We promise we will podcast from the Orient Express
if they let us.
No, we will. We'll find a way.
Yeah.
All right.
If you fund us to get on the Orient Express, we will
commit a murder.
We promise not to commit a murder, but if a murder does occur on board,
we will try to solve it.
Yeah. So what we need is we're raising money for is 4 tickets. Who's a friend you don't give a shit about?
Oh man! Oh, this is important. We just opened this episode.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
I'm
man.
so sorry.
I just thought about
death is a bummer.
Oh.
But speaking of death, Flossie's dead, and then her dad goes to Poirot. It's like, I freaking told you, and he's like, you need to find this person's murderer, and he's like, I'll make you the richest person in the world. And Poirot's like, I don't really care about that because like this is terrible. What's happened? And so they're interviewing the maid. Jap is already there. He's interviewing the maid, and he's like, do you recognize the person that done it? Because there was a man in her car with her. That, a new development.
It sounds sexual, but it's not.
It could have been, but it wasn't because it was murder. So, anyway. So, the maid is like, I didn't recognize him. There's nothing familiar about him. He was, I think, tall with dark hair. I can't remember, really. I only got him over a shoulder. And Jap is like, whatever. Okay, fine. And then Poirot asks a couple questions. One of them was, did he seem familiar to you? And I can't remember the other one.
The jewels are missing.
The jewels are missing, yeah.
Obviously. I feel like that...
Yeah.
Could not have been a stupider decision to bring all of the jewelry.
Also, it could not have been, like, set up more heavily.
Oh, yeah. It's super heavy-handed. Yeah.
And then they start their investigation. And they're like, well, the jewels are missing, but is that to throw us off the case? And
sure.
Could it be this? Could it be that?
So, of course, they're looking into... I don't remember the order in which any of this happens.
Oh, so we also find... through the investigation. Poirot goes to the train station and speaks to
Paperboy,
the porter.
Yes.
And finds that Florence is apparently like frantically asking for the evening.
The late edition.
Evening edition.
Yes.
Which, by the way, that concept is. I forget that that's how papers worked for a very long time.
Yeah.
Or isn't that now? It's just like, CNN ruined everything.
Yeah. So, he distinctly remembers her at, like, the connection trying to, get this paper. And does it come out at that point that does the coroner investigation come out, like, about the time of her death?
Yeah. And it's, a couple of... Like, it was before they got to Brighton.
Yeah.
Not Brighton, Bristol.
Yeah, before the connection was supposed to be made.
Yeah.
She was murdered, so it's very weird.
Yeah, and so Poirot asks Miss Lemon to collect all the papers in the world.
Yeah.
And she does it very well. She gets one scene, and she does very well, and she walks off.
She's wearing these very cool round glasses, tortoiseshell glasses, comes in, and what does she say? Oh gosh, I wanted to note it, and I didn't. But she says something like, well, a problem is just a solution waiting to come out, or something something lovely like that. Mm-hmm. And Poirot smiles knowingly, and she's like, yep, I'm the best, bye. Mm-hmm.
Gives him the middle finger as she leaves.
It's very Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, it's like, rah! Yeah.
What a great casting that would have been.
Oh, that would have been fun.
Yeah. Pauline Moran is great too, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She does a good job.
I would say, though, like, Carrie's British accent was not the best.
Much like Dick Van Dyke, I feel like people would have been like...
Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Eddie Izzarda has this whole bit about Dick Van Dyke's accent. It's like, it's not bad, it's just Australian. Which is, and then I recently watched it, like, it is. It's just like Mary Poppins. But anyways.
I love Eddie Izzarda.
He's fantastic. But they look at the papers, and the stocks of Mr. Halliday dropped severely and then came back up by the end of the day.
Don't be fooled by the stocks that he's got.
As they say. And then they go to the Frenchman, and they're like, you bought and sold stocks.
Yeah.
That's fraud. And he's like, it's not, it's just business. And they're like, we'll get you. Urgh.
Yeah.
And then they move on.
And then they shrug their shoulders and walk out the door.
Yeah. Because it's clear that it's not that.
Hastings at some point in here meets her husband.
Yeah.
Who is very sad. Just the saddest man.
Yeah.
And he's drinking a lot. And then the bartender cuts him off. And he turns to Hastings and says, the bartender cut me off. And Hastings is like, well, I'll have 2 big scotches then.
Yeah.
You idiot. But they have a nice little conversation.
About how he bet on horses.
Yeah. And he's in terrible, terrible debt.
Full Adam Sandler.
I suppose. But, he's really upset. And he's upset about... He knows about Flossie.
Yeah.
And he's sad about that too, and seems really genuine about it.
Yeah.
And I've actually kind of come around to this sad boy.
This sad e-boy.
Yeah. I mean, not
he does
as...
have the bangs for
Yep.
it.
Like, don't marry him, but, he's
Fool
not...
around with him a little bit.
He's not the actual worst.
Yeah.
Probably.
No, like so many husbands. Not like last time, if you recall.
Yeah.
Right. So... Yeah, so he's like, womp womp, and he still owes a lot of money. And at some point, the point is made because of course he's a suspect in her death. But the point is made like, he clearly doesn't have the jewels. He's still in tons of debt.
Yeah.
And
that
like,
doesn't make sense.
Oh,
because there's this really nice scene where both Jap and Hastings are like positing their theories to Poirot at the same time. He's like, just shut up. I can't think with like it's like a parrot. Like I can't hear you if you're both talking. And he discounts both of them for that reason. Then Jap thought it was the Frenchman, and he's just like, that doesn't make sense either.
No, I mean like he was just doing business. Fine.
Yeah.
It's a little cold, but he didn't do anything wrong.
And then Poirot hands Jap an address. And he goes, the killer's here. Meet me here. It's very strange.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. Yeah. This is our best, that trio.
Très dramatique.
Jap, Hastings, and Poirot. And so Jap is peering at him from behind, from around a corner, and Hastings can't see anything. So Poirot is knocking on the door, and Jap says to Hastings, he's knocking on the door. He's opened the door. He's walking in. It's really cute.
And he goes in and he speaks with a jeweler. It's Adam Sandler.
It's more racism.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Gotta get that in there.
Oh,
A little bit of racism for your Monday. As you're listening to this, probably. Yeah.
I'm sure by the time you listen to it, more racism will have occurred.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. You'll have had...
Fret not.
Just piling it on.
Happy Black History Month.
Yeah.
So, he goes in and he speaks with his jeweler, and he's not fond of him, and he's like, I'm looking for this very specific kind of jewels. These jewels would be very, they would depreciate in value if they were taken out of their settings. My client doesn't care about that. He'd actually prefer the jewelry as a jewelry, and the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And as he leaves, Poirot stops and turns and looks at the coat rack, and he recognizes a coat, and then he leaves. And then the guy realizes that Poirot recognizes the coat and is like, uh-oh.
Because Flossie was wearing a lovely light blue coat.
Would you call it eggshell?
No.
Would you call it periwinkle?
No.
Would you call it...
We'd call it blue. Just...
It's
not
like,
Robin's egg blue?
No.
You don't
No.
think?
It's not Robin's egg.
Yeah.
Robin's egg is a little greener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more turquoisey.
Yeah. But it's still a lovely shade of blue. But it's like a light blue, kind of a sky blue, almost. Yeah, pastel-ish. But it's beautiful, and it's very distinctive.
Yeah.
And that is what she was wearing on the train. So Poirot says he doesn't know anything about it, but he is the guy, and he had an accomplice.
A brick. Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a special ad break now, because Tyler has something important to say.
This month, Born Dance Company presents their new work, Bound, as part of their annual Eating Disorder Awareness Show. The shows will take place on February 28th and 29th at 7 p.m. in Long Island City at the Secret Theater. Admission to the show is donation-based, and the majority of the proceeds made will go directly to NEDA, the National Eating Disorders Association. To reserve tickets, please visit borndance.com. That's BORNEDANCE.com. Born Dance Company, because I was born of the dance.
Can I tell you, while we're in this space thinking about this character, Bane, I work childcare. We have cones, and I, as a joke, when I was born on the dock inside one of the cones, and then the kid kept saying it and doing it as well. It was very funny. So it was just like this 2-year-old going, I was born on the dock. It's very funny.
That's fun.
So
So the Secret Theater is really close. It's in Long Island City, but it's not far from Manhattan.
No, not at
Right,
all.
it's only like, what, 1 or 2 stops in on the 7 train?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's real easy to get to from Midtown. Like,
Yeah.
super, super easy to get to.
So no excuses if you live in the area.
Yeah, like, don't give me that Queens is far thing. It's not that far.
This week's episode is also brought to you by Patreon. You could go to patreon.com/ADCpod. We're doing it live, ADC Pod, and we got bonus content. We're going to do some episodes eventually once our scheduling works out. This last couple of months have been crazy.
That happened, but we have some good bonus content coming up.
Yeah,
it's
we
gonna
do.
be real nice.
Yeah.
And follow us on all of our social media platforms. You can find us at ADC Pod on Twitter and Instagram. And what is the URL for Facebook, Tyler? It's Amateur Detective Club?
Yes, it's Amateur Detective.
HATP.
Don't do
No.
Don't do this bit, Tyler. It's Amateur Detective Club. It's not the Amateur Detective Club because I made a mistake when I made the page. We also have a Facebook group, though.
Called The Amateur Detective
Yeah,
Club.
if you would like to join that and discuss.
Just answer the questions, please. I don't like letting people in who haven't answered the questions. It makes me it makes me feel like I'm being trolled or something.
Yeah, there was someone who clearly didn't know anything, and I was like,
Well, they did message the page, not the group.
no, they answered all the questions, and they were like, they were like, and I was like,
Yeah. I mean,
sorry to recap, they were like, and I was like,
just,
Yeah, spell check should have caught that.
just answer them as best you can like
Yeah.
a human being, and we'll let you in.
Yeah. But yeah.
Can we tease a bonus content?
Ooh,
Yeah.
Would you please? Yes.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah, you brought it up. The floor recognizes Tyler Riley.
We had a Facebook poll go out this week. So, a bonus episode, if you subscribe to the Patreon, will be Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Big fan.
Yeah.
Scared me as a child. Didn't understand. Yeah,
it
very
was
frightening.
Pretty terrifying.
Yeah, and I also remember being very uncomfortable with how sexual Jessica Rabbit was. I was like, I know this isn't appropriate for me to be watching. I'm 5. I'm gonna go in the other room. Watch Bugs Bunny.
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. It's like a good movie. I enjoy it.
There was a
Bob Hoskins, amazing.
ride in Disney World a while back that like incorporated part of it. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? And I miss it.
Was it
What am I
Disney World? I
thinking
thought it
of?
was Universal.
No, because I had never been to Universal until
interesting.
2017.
Okay.
I also feel like it inspired, at least, Bonkers, the
Oh,
Disney
absolutely.
Channel, yeah,
I love
the Disney Channel
Bonkers.
show.
Yeah. They feel very...
Totally nuts.
Yeah, totally nuts.
I was
which
just trying
is
to
also
pull up our... Sorry.
technically a mystery series. We should do an episode of Bonkers. The rabbit that fell
I guess
apart, very
yeah.
fun. I loved it.
So look for Bonkers on the Patreon at some point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up what our poll results were.
22 votes, 20 yes, 2 no.
Oh, we've got a couple more.
Oh, good.
More no's or?
There's only 2 no's.
Okay, 2 no's still.
Well, those
And 21
two no's
yeses.
just, why don't you just...
Hey, that's your mother you're talking about.
It is your
Before
mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why don't you just support us anyway and we'll do a different thing? Is what the thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I was like, just so you're aware.
She doesn't like the film.
That's
Okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Not everyone does.
No. But it's one of those things of like, I've talked about this before, like, she would be not let us watch movies that she didn't like, and I always assumed it was for moral reasons, and then I've since spoken, like, she's like, no, the reason I don't like Grease is I think it's a bad movie, and that's why we didn't watch it. I just didn't want to sit through it. Same thing with the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I was like, okay, that makes sense.
That's great. I think that's very funny.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't want this in my home just for my own personal reasons.
Yeah.
Preferences.
Mm-hmm. This is strange recording the ad break like this because it just feels like the rest of the podcast.
We've
And I
just
don't
gone
know when
off
to,
the rails.
yeah, I don't know when to
with this ad
return
break.
to the rest of the episode.
How about now?
Okay. So they go in and they arrest the gentleman. They break the door down, and then they have the parlor reveal.
Yeah, and it's a nice parlor reveal. It's like a manageable number of people, and it's a manageable amount of time.
It made me like, what a move. We'll get to it. But I hated it, but I loved it.
So he invites the Frenchman, her widow, her widower, and her father to the father's home or his office.
Something like that.
Yeah,
One of the two.
His home office.
Sure.
No, it's the home because Mrs. Mason is there.
And she comes and she brings tea, and Poirot is very dramatic. He's like, I'll pass out the tea. And then he like is, would it be the person that, money? And he gives it to the ex-husband. Or would it be the person who also money? And he gives it to the Frenchman. But then he turns and he's like, j'accuse. And he points at the maid.
Yeah, it was like, you make her work and, like, bring tea into the room, and then
so
it's
petty.
like,
Like, on the one hand, she has to be, like, that makes it less suspicious for her, but on the other hand, it's so cruel, and I think it's very... She's also committed murder, so, like, let's not...
Yeah. I mean, I feel like...
she assisted. She did not...
she did not
do the murder.
She, though,
She
when
knew
it's...
about it.
Yeah, and when it's revealed, she... her demeanor changes and she's like, it would have set us up real nice. No regrets.
Yeah.
Which also, I was not mad at that because Florence was not nice to her.
Yeah.
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 It's true, but she did commit a murder.
She did not commit the murder.
Well,
she was
okay.
a part of the plot, which is still bad.
Very.
But it's not as bad, I feel, as that. Awful.
Especially because we get a scene of...
Yeah.
we get a reenactment of the actual
nasty.
murder,
Oh,
and
it
it's
was
very
so terrible.
talk about twisting the knife,
Literally.
and then she falls against the window
And
with
her
like her
cheek goes,
bloody, yeah.
Like, I laughed.
Yeah.
It's just so...
Her bloody handprints.
Yeah.
It's like, how did no one see anyway?
Because I just... Watching her cheek slide in the way it did, and watching the actress's eyes, you could just see, like, the thought in her mind just being like, they're really making me do this right now.
Oh, I disagree. I thought she was clearly having a lot of fun because she thought it was so silly.
Who
could say?
But I thought that she was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, can we be wrapped for the day?
I've done this 12 times.
Yeah.
But Poirot goes on this rant of like, how, like, you chose a knife, which is like very personal and very nasty. Like, you could have just shot her or poisoned her, but you chose to stab her in between the ribs, you crazy lady. That's mean. That's very
Not
cruel.
The lady, the man did it.
I don't...
I mean, they're both part of the plot, so she kind of as good as did it.
I mean, yes, but if
In
we're
the eyes of
talking
the
about
law.
the scene,
No, yeah.
the man
actually.
is a
murder,
very
yeah.
clear scene of a man stabbing a woman.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the father, Mr. Halliday, just like immediately lunges for the maid, which like I get, and then the police officer's like, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And then they take her away, and then the Frenchman's like, oh, that's all very sad, but I'm going to go home now to Paris. And the Jap's like, no, you going back to Scotland Yard because we still can't figure out the fraud bit. He pulled a Martha Stewart.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Insider trading. And then it ends back at the office with Poirot reading a letter. Mr. Halliday's gone back to Australia and is kind of like pseudo-retired, and he's just actually not retired. He's trying to really focus on business, so he just doesn't think about what's happened.
The death of his daughter.
Yeah.
Was awful.
There's a really lovely scene of they bring in the gemstones. Prior to this, they bring in the gemstones. They hand it to Mr. Halliday. He's like, no, I know that my daughter's will goes to that guy. And he points at the husband, and the husband goes, no, you keep it. Which is very lovely.
Yeah.
Because he's, like, still in debt.
Yeah.
Presumably.
I mean, it's stupid, but it's also nice.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he also has other money now.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I hope he does okay.
Yeah.
And then, stops gambling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe joins 1930s AA.
Yeah.
It's
Which is called 1930s AA is called Snap Out of It.
Right.
Stop it. You're better than this. Man up.
Oh my god. Like, why? Like, I mean, I wouldn't, but I would entertain getting on board with a GOP measure to stop SNAP benefits if they called it Snap Out of It. Don't stop SNAP benefits, but I'm just saying that would be a good name.
Of all the names, that would be the most fun.
So, he reads the letter. It's very sad. He's given him a massive amount of money. He says he's been overgenerous. And then it ends with Poirot taking off his pince-nez in slow motion. It's very strange. This goes back to my comment about the director had a very specific vision.
Yeah.
And it's very dramatic.
Yeah.
And very strange. Okay.
What do we think of the episode?
Yeah, what are our opinions?
I'll kick it off. This is the one.
Oh.
For me. I watched it last night and I barely remembered it. Like, it was just so forgettable to me. I think I'll give it a 2. I'll give it a 2 because it was far from the worst that we've seen. But also, like, much like Uncut Gems, my problem is the same. Where I didn't care. I just did not care.
You don't like jewelry stuff.
No, I do though.
You like diamonds.
I do. This just wasn't.
Wasn't it?
It just wasn't for me. I appreciate certain choices that were made. I thought like the Jap Poirot Hastings thing
that was
going
cute.
into the murderer's apartment thing. Like, that was fun. But yeah, like, I remember like really 3 specific bits. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's just not enough for me to like really, because it's out of 5, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 2.
Okay. Tristan.
That's my rating. I remembered a lot of this episode, but it was because I had already, for whatever reason, known the plot. It was somehow familiar to me. I knew it was the maid right away. I was like, it's the maid. And so there was no suspense at any point. So I didn't find it boring. I also watched it like 10:30. So I was very sleepy. So I was like, this is fine. So if you need to fall asleep watching an episode Poirot, it's a 5 out of 5. Cannot recommend almost falling asleep enough. If you want to watch an engaging episode, I would say 2.5. I'm with Tyler on this one. It was below average.
I think it was fine. I think it was average. I think I'm going to give it a 3. I am really on a kick where I'm like, if it is the obvious person, I am rating this low.
Yeah.
And the obvious people would have been the husband or the boyfriend, whatever. And so I was glad it was neither of them. Mm-hmm. I didn't remember this, and Tristan and I have consumed roughly the same amount of Poirot content. I didn't relate it to the Blue Train. So I don't know. I don't also barely remember the Blue Train at all.
It's a long, weird book, and there's a lot. It was a lot.
And Tyler read Blue Train with us.
No.
No?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
I would have remembered.
Really? See, because I don't.
My first episode was Black Coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. I don't know where Blue Train happened.
It was the, I think it's the third book.
Really?
In the, if you're going chronologically, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's right before Big Four, I believe.
I didn't make my stop, I know that.
Oh.
Hey.
Oh, can I tell you as well, I was hoping it was going to be the dad. I was hoping that he had somehow, for whatever reason, and because that would have been the least obvious, but that's always what I go into these, much like Knives Out. It was I wanted it to be Christopher Plummer, because that would have been so weird. That would have been so strange.
That would have been
such a weird twist.
The way they did it though was fantastic.
Yeah.
And the way they brought
mad.
it back. Yeah. Because they made you go through all these mental leaps, and that I appreciated that. But this one was just, it was all right.
Mm-hmm. A perfectly adequate episode.
Yep.
Fine.
It was fine. And you know what's better than fine? Recording with you guys.
I now call this meeting of the Amateur Detective Club to a close.
Gavel sound.
Holding that in the whole episode.